Okay, let's see what you remember. Let's do a little case study. 70-year-old woman with a 16-month history of cognitive impairment. She was admitted to a long-term care community after a series of falls at home. Her husband was caring for her with increasing difficulty. She was displaying signs of hallucinations. Her gait was unsteady, facial expressions flat, and speech unimpaired. In addition, she was beginning to have problems feeding herself because of hand tremors. So think about the types of diseases that I just reviewed and the comparisons that we did. What disease does this person probably have?
Not all cognitive communication assessments and screening tools are as sensitive as they can be for identifying mild cognitive impairment or identifying dementia. Look at the difference between the MoCA and the SLUMS and the mini-mental status exam. The mini-mental is only 18% sensitive for MCI. So, and only 78% for dementia. So that might be why sometimes you find out, oh, well, this person scored really well on the mini-mental, but they're functioning at a much different level. While the MoCA is much more sensitive to identifying mild cognitive impairment and being a predictor of future the dementia or Alzheimer's disease with the memory index score. And then also it's 100% sensitive for dementia. So be careful about which tool you use, and maybe you even want to use a variety of assessment tools.
This photo on the left is from a home visit of an individual with memory loss. The gentleman using this bathroom often forgot to wash his hands and had recently tried to brush his teeth with hand lotion. First, we decluttered the items on the sink by moving pill bottles to their own cabinet and removing other non-essentials. Next, we labeled the remaining items with large print labels. With just these simple changes, this gentleman was able to be much more independent and successful in the bathroom. Validation therapy involves accepting and validating the values, beliefs, and reality of a person with memory impairment. We do this by placing emphasis on the emotional aspects of a conversation and less on the factual content. This sometimes requires us to agree with a statement that's been made, even if it's neither true nor real, because to the person with memory loss, it is valid. Instead of trying to convince the person or rationalize, we simply validate their feelings. This is more easily said than done. First, we need to be aware of how we are holding our bodies and the gestures and facial expressions we're using. People with memory impairment are aware of nonverbals and will pay attention to them. We want people to feel safe, comfortable, and trust us. So then we take a deep breath and pause, and before we respond, we must ask ourselves, what is the emotion or need that requires validation here? So for example, I may be working with a client who's lived in a long-term care community for many years. She often becomes agitated in the late afternoons, wanting to leave to go pick up her children from school. I could try to convince her that her children are grown and don't need to be picked up. I could remind her that she lives in a care community and no longer has a car. Or I can address her emotional needs. What could she be feeling? A desire to be with loved ones? A need for connection? A need for something purposeful to do? I could respond by saying something like, I bet you really love your children and look forward to when they come home from school. This validates the person's feelings. Then I might say something like, I make a snack with my daughter after school. What do you do with your children? Tell me about your kids. And finally, I can engage the person in an alternative activity. Would you like to make a snack with me? Or would you be interested in reading to someone? In this way, I've acknowledged the person's feelings and offered an alternative that might meet the person's needs. Spaced retrieval is a technique that can be used to help people with memory impairment learn and retain new information. With spaced retrieval, the person practices recalling a new piece of information over progressively longer intervals of time until this information becomes automatic. Essentially, spaced retrieval is practice at remembering. Spaced retrieval is a relatively simple process. First, you need to identify the person's needs. For example, you may decide that your client needs help remembering her room number. So you will choose a prompt question related to that need. For example, the question might be, what is your room number? Then you'll want to decide on an appropriate reply. For example, 115, or my room number is 115. Then you will practice with the person. We'll talk more about what this practice looks like in just a moment. Then you'll involve other staff and family members so that they can also practice with the person. So what does the practice phase of spaced retrieval look like? First, you will let the person know you're going to practice remembering something important. Then tell the person the piece of information you want them to remember. Today we're going to practice remembering my name. My name is Jennifer. Then you will give the person a chance to practice remembering by asking, what is my name? If the person answers correctly, you'll wait 5 seconds and ask again. If the person again answers correctly, you'll wait a little bit longer before asking again. Typically, the intervals double, so you'll be asking the person the question at 10 seconds, then 20 seconds, then maybe 30 seconds, then 1 minute, then 2 minutes, then 4 minutes, etc. If at any point the person answers the question incorrectly or doesn't know the answer, you go back to the last time interval at which they were successful and start again from there.